Hi guys, how you doing? Happy Tuesday here at the Newcastle United training ground, where as you can see I am just outside. At the moment I've just been inside watching some training and doing a live hit into Sky Sports News, talking about the current situation. Regards to injuries, good form, Newcastle flying, everyone essentially in fine fettle following that 1-0 win against Manchester United on Saturday that made it 3 phenomenal performances in the space of a week with the same starting 11, the same 11 players playing every game. And you know, the way Eddie Howe is getting a tune out of all of these players right now, making them fight for the jersey, really is a sight to behold. And at training today, I was only in there for about 15-20 minutes, but it was an opportunity just to have just get an idea of the mood around the place and how the feeling is on the back of that win against Manchester United. And I have to say, everyone just looked so relaxed, light-hearted, and sort of just generally chilled about the situation. I mean, Eddie Howe has been saying for a couple of weeks now that due to the schedule and how brutal it is, that the players aren't really training as such. They're essentially just recovering and going again. And I think in actually some ways it's actually helping that he's just got this small group, knowing that there aren't sort of individual players having different sessions away from the group other than the injured players. So with the same 11 players plus your sort of 3 or 4 subs and a couple of youngsters, they're just training or they're just recovering each day and getting ready for the next game. And it's very much like what he kind of alluded to on Friday at his press conference, where he said, you know, I want it to be sort of us against everyone outside of Newcastle. And I think when you've got such a small number of bodies like he has at the moment, you're able to do that. So these are the training shots from this morning when I was in there. You can see most of the normal faces who have played the last number of games are there. Now I have to say, at this point there was no sign of Kieran Trippier today, and of course that is the sort of news line out of this morning's training session, but I'm assured that is nothing to be worried about, and it's just part of Kieran Trippier's recovery, and obviously the load that's on his body. He's not a kid anymore, so the load that's on his body, I think he was inside just getting some individual treatment. I don't think it's a concern for the match against Everton on Thursday, but of course when I speak to Eddie Howe at his news conference tomorrow, we will double check that. Another thing worth noticing, the rest of the players who all played so well were there, the likes of Tino Livramento and Anthony Gordon there in training. Louis Miley as well. I mean, God, he's gone through a lot these last few weeks, hasn't he? Thrown in to make his debut, then playing 3 huge matches in his week, making his Champions League debut from the start against Paris Saint-Germain, no less, up against the likes of Kylian Mbappe and Ousmane Dembele, starting against Chelsea, starting against Manchester United, and being asked to play the full 90 minutes in each of these games. It's amazing how quickly he has dealt with what has been thrown at him, because normally, as you see with young players, they normally get blooded in quite slowly and they're taken out for a game here or there or given an hour. But yeah, okay, maybe looked a little bit tired towards the end against Manchester United, but what a week he's had, and he's just absolutely exploded onto the scene. And you would suggest now that come the January transfer window, where Newcastle might have been looking to potentially add another midfielder, his emergence would probably have the recruitment team and the manager thinking, perhaps we don't need to do this now, perhaps we don't need to spend 40, 50, 60 million pounds on a midfielder, bringing forward the budget from the summer, or perhaps we don't need to look at the loan market in that position. That is how well he has done over these last couple of weeks, and I think it's been a real boost for them. So Louis Miley there. So too was Alex Isak, who again has come back from that injury. He's played 3 matches in a row in the space of 7 days, and he's looked sharp. I remember when he came back against Sheffield Wednesday in the FA Cup last year in January, and he looked sluggish and he missed a couple of chances against Wednesday that night, and it looked like it took him a few games to get back to his best. He's come back, for me, as good as when he went away. So fair, credit to him, credit to the medical staff for getting him into the condition that he's in, that he can come back following an injury like that. And remember, it was a recurrence of a serious injury. To come back and come straight back into the lineup and put in 3 performances in 7 days like that, it shows the will to win, and it shows the fitness levels that Alexander Isak has. The other faces there, of course, Jamal Lascelles, club captain, was there. The best sort of compliment I can pay Jamal Lascelles right now is that the team aren't really missing Sven Botman. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying that. For me, when he got injured, I labelled Botman as arguably Newcastle's most important player at the time, given how he'd improved that defence. But Lascelles has improved so much and put in so many good performances these last couple of months that you're actually not missing Sven Botman, and I think that is, as I say, as big a compliment as you can pay Jamal Lascelles. And what I've noticed about him recently as well is where maybe before he wasn't so great with the ball on the ground, he looks like he's improved in that area. I don't know if it's maybe just training with better players, some time out of the team, but I've seen him switching the ball about. His use of the ball, his distribution is better, and fair play to a guy who looked like he potentially could have been on his way out. Now, the sort of downside of training today, of course, Nick Pope wasn't there. The keepers were all there. The other keepers, of course, Martin Dubravka, Loris Karius and Mark Gillespie, all there, ably assisted by youngster Will Brown. It'll be interesting to see what the club decide to do in January, but I think Dubravka's got the chance now. He's got the gloves, and it'll be his opportunity to stay in the team. And if he comes in and he plays well in the next few games, similar to the situation with Louis Miley coming in, you would suggest that maybe the club don't need to sign it in January. But of course, there's so many huge games between now and the end of the season, and I have to say it sounds as though Pope, although we don't have confirmation from the club yet, the noises from my sources are telling me that he is likely to need surgery, Nick Pope. And with that, you would suggest round about 4 months recovery, potentially up to 5. That'll take him up to April. Is it worth risking in between then and the end of the season? So it'll be a big decision to come in January as to whether Newcastle feel they need to bring in another goalkeeper to compete with Dubravka, Karius and Mark Gillespie. But the good thing for them is they've got a few weeks to assess the situation. It's not like they need to make a knee-jerk reaction now. They've got they've got the best part of December. There's a lot of games to play, and it'll give them an opportunity to try and work out what they need to do between now and then. And I think it's a similar situation with the midfield department as well. In terms of other players who are missing, of course we all know there's 11 players now out. There was no sign of Sven Botman at training. Of course he's been training on his own. Eddie Howe said last week, building up his knee to a return. No sign of Willock, Harvey Barnes, Callum Wilson, Dan Burns, Sean Longstaff, none of these lads out training with the team. So I would suggest from that it looks as though it's the same squad that will go to Goodison Park on Thursday, and then obviously with such a quick turnaround to Tottenham on Sunday, I would suggest it'll probably be the same squad that travels down to London to play Tottenham as well. He might be lucky, he might manage to get one player back. It feels as though probably Sean Longstaff is the closest to a return, but with the games coming thick and fast and with the team doing so well, I don't think there'll be a need to throw players back in. There's not a desperation, because the 11 players, okay, yes, it's such a small number, but the way they're playing and the way they're fighting for each other, don't sort of try and fix what's not broken at the moment. So it just felt from watching training today and not seeing any of those injured players training with the group that it'll be the same squad for Everton and then again at Tottenham at the weekend. But again, we'll check on that with Eddie Howe at his press conference tomorrow. The key thing for them, the club at the moment, is just not have any more injuries. You would have to say, as well as Nick Pope has played recently, the one position Newcastle was still strong in was the goalkeeping department. And if any other, if Gordon was to have got injured, or Trippier or Livramento, then the team are in serious problems. But I just felt with the goalkeeping department, although Nick Pope has been amazing and he's been immense the last couple of weeks, they do have good backup there in the shape of Dubravka and Karius if called upon. So despite him being the best player the last couple of weeks, in a weird roundabout way, you could actually deal with him missing a little bit more than an outfield player. So anyway, that's it from me here at training this morning. Good to get out there and just see that the players are in good spirits following that win against Manchester United, and gearing up for this trip to Everton on Thursday, with the games just coming thick and fast at the moment. But the way the team are playing, and you know what it's like when you get into that rhythm, they'll just be desperate for the next match to come around. So anyway, that's it from me, guys, here at the training ground, and I will see you on the next one. Take care. Cheers.